So dudes, Herbleaf here. Today we're going to be going over a Squire tier list for recommended weapons, as well as skills and perks. I'm also going to be going over a variation of different Squire combinations for builds and what those stats look like in game. To begin, we'll start with a Rogue Squire weapon tier list. This tier list is taking into the account the different variety of build options and the stat trade-offs in order to make those builds work. So in reference to tier F, we are going to look at a Rondel Dagger. The Rondel Dagger has a gutted weapon damage this season, thus falling down from what was a top dagger down to the worst. Next, we'll look at column tier D. So tier D is the Rapier. The Rapier is a respectable weapon. It does have good poke range and a good weapon animation, but ultimately in this season, maybe outside of a tumble build, it's just not as meta. In reference to tier C, we are looking at the Flute. In a Squire setup, the Flute is a versatile option with the increased headshot scaling buff. It is a versatile means of blocking with parry, but also a means of protecting yourself in certain sticky situations, such as when a sorcerer locks you down and freezes you, and then tries to follow up with an elemental bolt. You can block it with the Flute. In reference to tier B, we are looking at the Castellan Dagger. The Castellan Dagger remains the strongest weapon damage dagger, and as well as the Chris Dagger in tier B. The Chris is a great weapon. It did get gutted as far as its weapon damage, and with enough action speed, it can still manage in today's meta. So both of these daggers do fall under tier B. We next will recognize tier A, so the drums and the throwing knives fall under tier A. To begin with drums, drums are a means of not only damage, obviously, they are accurate, they have good range, but most importantly, with crush being added to certain weapons, such as the drum, if you are drum stacking and in certain sticky situations where you need to get out, you can double drum a door to once again make an opening. In reference to the throwing knife, that's pretty self-explanatory. The throwing knife gives you the means and ability to continue poison weapon stacks. It does technically have a slight buff as far as headshots are concerned, so if you're accurate, you get a slight buff in that regard as well. Once again, throwing knives are a versatile means to continue DPS and dodge. So in reference to tier S, we are going to be looking at the Stiletto. The Stiletto does remain as the top dagger of choice, especially in regards to a Squire build. So the Stiletto is the least punishing mid-chase. It does have a great attack animation once you master the third attack, as it does have a little bit of a learning curve to it. But other than that, the Stiletto is going to be the dominant dagger of choice, being that if there is a stat that you wanted to sacrifice in a Squire build, the Stiletto is the most forgiving in regards to action speed. So where you can lack an action speed for a Squire build, you can then buff in other areas that will just make you more of a contender in this meta. In the S tier, we will also be looking at the Short Sword. The Short Sword has great range, it has a great attack animation in order to continually apply consistent headshots, and once again, it is just a strong means of burst potential. So Short Sword is going to also be put in S tier, and our next S tier item is going to be the Hand Crossbow. The Hand Crossbow is just our direct means of consistent range application, whether that be single hand crossbow or if you're going mosquito build. It is a contender in today's meta, so this is why this is put in S tier for weapons. Next, we'll go over a Rogue Squire perks and skills tier list, which also takes into the account the upcoming build varieties that are to come. To begin, under tier F, we'll look at Caltrops as well as Traps and Locks. Caltrops was never meta and still is not. Traps and Locks is really only beneficial for PvE, AP farming, and minting an arena kit. In regards to Tier D, we'll look at weak point attack as well as dagger mastery. These two particular perks just do not provide as much burst potential, especially after dagger mastery's percentage nerf, as well as the nerf to dagger weapon damage in general. In regards to Tier C, we will look at the Tumble perk, which provides versatility as far as creating leverage and opportunity against your opponent, as well as Thrust. Thrust becomes more beneficial as the raid progresses, your gear quality improves, and it takes into account the progression of the enemy's gear progression as well. In regards to Tier B, we're looking at Smoke Pot and Hide Mastery. Smoke Pot is very versatile and beneficial in its means of a large movement speed, slow dispersion, as well as its ability to create opportunities, whether your team is to capitalize upon the enemy or if it needs to provide peel and mask invisibility so that they can run away. In regards to Hide Mastery, that is in Tier B, as it provides opportunity for perma pickpocket invis as well as perma PvP build invis, thus once again landing in Tier B. In Tier A, we're going to look at Cutthroat. With Cutthroat, this is very versatile in its ranged application as well as up-close PvP for silencing abilities. In regards to back attack as well as creep, these two particular perks are more beneficial depending on the player's skill, being that the more openings of a back attack that you can create, the more that you can benefit from the scaling of that 30%. And with creep, it becomes beneficial in regards to players who are a little more adept at hearing normal footsteps, but even amongst the best of players, when you have game sense, you can still kind of predict what a rogue can do, thus creep wouldn't go into Tier S, but fall under Tier A. In Tier S, we're going to be looking at the top tier perks for Rogue and Squire. This is going to take into account once again the build variety that is to come. We're going to start with Rupture. Rupture allows for some of the best burst potential for a Rogue's arsenal. Hide is going to be one of the prominent features of Rogue, which allows you to get the initial attack in prior to, potentially taking the attack back. In reference to Stealth, Stealth is what gives the movement ability during Hide for 10 steps while crouched. So Stealth is obviously S tier in regards to the Hide component. Ambush is going to be a great component here for S tier, as Ambush provides that 25% on hit damage bonus, as well as the 10% movement speed, which allows you to either close distance or even get away in sticky situations. Jokester also falls under S tier, as Jokester provides a +2 all, and in essence, when you are min-maxing your Squire gear, adding Jokester on top of that is more or less incorporating kind of +2 all rolls to the betterment of your gear. In essence, it is once again one of the best types of rolls to add. I would definitely include Jokester in most, if not all, of my builds as far as Squire is concerned. Next is going to be Poison Weapon. So Poison Weapon is going to be once again a great addition to the Rupture combo as far as a dot is concerned. So it just once again adds on to that damage over time, thus allowing you to burst down an enemy and get away scotch-free. In regards to the next two components here, we're looking at Double Jump as well as Pickpocket. Double Jump falls under S tier now, as they've removed the previous movement speed penalty. You still have the slight movement speed decrease on the second jump, but when using it correctly, it is very, minimal to take into account. Most importantly, utilizing this in certain terrains, certain maps, and those environments allows you that leverage to get the betterment of your enemy. In regards to Pickpocket, Pickpocket obviously falls under S tier, as this is one of the funnest perks to be running, as